Good evening, dear listeners. Welcome to another shadowed corner of the night, where the veil between memory and madness thins just enough to let the whispers through. Tonight, we delve into a tale that feels all too real, a story of roots that refuse to let go, of echoes that linger long after the voices have faded. Imagine the home where you grew up, its walls etched with the laughter of your youth. But what if those walls remembered you better than you remember them? What if they called your name in the dead of night? Settle in, dim the lights, and let the story unfold. This is my childhood home still calls my name. My name is Emily, and if you'd asked me a year ago, I'd have told you my life was perfectly ordinary. I live in a cozy apartment in the city, work as a graphic designer from home, mostly logos and websites for small businesses, and spend my weekends hiking or binge, watching shows with my fiancée Alex. We're in our early 30s, talking about kids someday, maybe a house in the suburbs. Nothing exciting, but that's how I like it. Stable, predictable. It all started when my mom called last spring. Dad had passed away suddenly, a heart attack at 68, and she needed help sorting through the old house in Willow Creek, the small town where I grew up. It's one of those quiet Midwestern places, lined streets, kids on bikes, neighbors who wave from porches. The house itself is a two-story colonial from the 1920s, with creaky hardwood floors, a wraparound porch, and that faint musty smell of old books and faded wallpaper. I hadn't been back in years, not since college. Life got busy, But Mom sounded so tired on the phone, her voice cracking as she said, "Emily, it's just too much for me alone. The memories, they weigh on me." So, Alex and I packed up the car and drove the 6 hours out there. The drive was nice, windows down, podcast playing, stopping for coffee at roadside diners. When we pulled up to the house, it looked smaller than I remembered, the paint peeling a bit on the shutters, but still welcoming. Mom greeted us at the door with hugs and fresh, baked cookies, her eyes red but smiling. "It's so good to have you home, sweetie," she said, squeezing my hand. We spent the first few days unpacking boxes in the attic and basement, reminiscing over old photo albums. There was me as a kid, gap-toothed grin on the swing set out back, family vacations to the lake, Dad's goofy Halloween costumes. Alex fit right in, helping Mom with the heavy lifting while I sorted through my childhood bedroom. It was frozen in time, posters of boy bands on the walls, stuffed animals on the shelf, my old diary tucked in a drawer. Flipping through it, I laughed at my dramatic teenage entries about crushes and school drama. God, I was such a dork. I told Alex that night as we curled up in the guest room bed, the sheets smelling faintly of lavender from Mom's laundry. But even then, there were these little oddities. Nothing big, just enough to make me pause. Like I'd be in the kitchen making tea, and I'd swear I heard a soft murmur from upstairs, like someone calling my name. But when I'd listen closer, it was just the wind through the eaves or the house settling. Emily. It almost sounded like faint and distant. I shook it off. Old houses make noises. Or one afternoon, while sorting Dad's tools in the garage, I found my old bicycle helmet on the workbench, even though I distinctly remembered packing it away in a box the day before. "Mom, did you move this?" I asked, holding it up. She frowned from the doorway. "No, honey. Maybe Alex did, but he hadn't." We joked about it. Ghosts with a sense of humor. Alex teased. But it left a tiny knot in my stomach, like forgetting something important. Nights were peaceful at first. We'd sit on the porch with glasses of wine, watching fireflies dance in the yard. Mom shared stories about Dad's quirks, like how he'd always fix the squeaky stairs but they'd creak again the next day. "This house has a mind of its own," she'd say with a chuckle. I felt closer to her than I had in years, the grief softening into warm nostalgia. But as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, I'd sometimes feel a chill draft from nowhere, raising goosebumps on my arms. "It's just the AC." I'd tell myself, pulling the covers higher. Rational, normal. That's how it started, small things easy to dismiss in the light of day. As the days stretched into a week, the house began to feel off. Not in a dramatic way, like in movies where doors slam shut on their own. No, it was subtler, like a shadow lingering just a bit too long in the corner of your eye. I'd be working on my laptop in the living room, designing a client's brochure, when I'd hear that murmur again. "Emily," so soft it could be my imagination. I'd stop typing, heart picking up a notch, and strain to listen. Nothing. Just the tick of the grandfather clock in the hall, or Mom humming in the kitchen. One morning, I found my childhood diary open on the nightstand, flipped to a page I'd written at age 12. "I heard my name last night. Mom says it's the wind, but it sounded like Dad calling from downstairs." I stared at it, a shiver running down my spine. Had I left it out, I must have. But when I asked Alex, he shrugged. Babe, you're stressed. Grief does weird things to the mind. He was right, of course. We were all dealing with Dad's absence, his empty armchair, the way Mom set the table for 4 out of habit. The incidents piled up quietly. Objects misplaced, my keys in the fridge, Alex's phone charger coiled neatly in the attic. This place is a black hole for stuff. Mom laughed over dinner one night, serving her famous lasagna. But her eyes darted to the dark hallway, and I noticed she kept the lights on more than usual. That evening, as we watched TV, a shadow flitted across the wall, long and humanoid like someone passing by the window. I jumped, spilling popcorn. Did you see that? I whispered to Alex. He paused the show. See what? The curtain moved. We checked outside, nothing but the empty street under street lamps. Mom patted my knee. It's an old house, Em. Drafts and tricks of the light. I tried to brush it off, but unease settled in like fog. At night, the whispers grew clearer, always when I was alone, brushing my teeth or drifting to sleep. Emily, come here. Not threatening, almost pleading, I'd bolt upright, sweating despite the cool air, and Alex would mumble, bad dream. I'd nod, not wanting to worry him. But doubt crept in. Was I losing it? Work stress. Plus grief. Maybe I needed to see a therapist back home. Then came the cold spots. I'd walk into the upstairs hallway and feel an icy patch, like stepping into a freezer. Sensory overload, skin prickling, breath visible in faint puffs. Feel this? I said to Mom one afternoon, dragging her there. She stood in the spot frowning. It's a bit chilly, but houses have drafts, honey. Her dismissal stung, making me feel childish. Alex was the same. You're overthinking it. Let's get out for a bit. Hike the old trails like you used to. We did, and for a few hours the fresh air cleared my head. But returning to the house, that knot returned, tighter. Dialogue helped ground me. Over coffee, I'd say to Alex, remember when I was a kid I'd hide in the closet during thunderstorms. This place feels like that now, safe but watchful. He'd hug me. It's memories stirring up. We'll be done soon. But as I reflected alone, staring out my bedroom window at the moonlit yard, I wondered if the house was stirring something deeper. Small doubts turned to quiet fear. What if it wasn't just me? What if the shadows were waiting for us to notice? By the second week, the subtlety shattered. The whispers weren't murmurs anymore. They were clear, insistent, echoing from empty rooms. Emily, why did you leave? I'd freeze in the kitchen, knife hovering over vegetables, heart pounding like a drum. Sensory details assaulted me, a sudden chill wrapping around my legs, the air thick with an old, musty scent like wet earth after rain. I'd call out, hello, but only silence answered, broken by the distant creak of floorboards upstairs, as if someone paced. Dreams invaded next, blurring lines. I'd wake gasping from visions of the house as a child, me playing in the yard, but a faceless figure watching from the window, mouthing my name. Reality twisted one night. I jolted awake to find the bedroom door ajar. Though I'd locked it, shadows danced on the walls, elongated and wrong, like fingers reaching. Alex, I whispered, shaking him. Something's here. He groaned, half asleep. Door probably didn't latch. Go back to sleep. His doubt isolated me. I felt like a kid again, scared of the dark, but now no one believed. Mom noticed my pallor at breakfast. You look exhausted, Em. Bad dreams. I confessed the whispers. She paused, fork midway to her mouth. Your father heard things too toward the end. Said it was the house settling. But maybe it's grief playing tricks. Her words hung heavy, laced with unspoken fear. I pushed. What if it's not? What if something's wrong with this place? She sighed. Houses don't have ghosts, honey. They're just wooden memories. But her eyes avoided mine, and I saw her rub her arms against a sudden cold. Paranormal hints escalated. In the attic, sorting boxes, I felt a brush against my back, light, like breath. I spun, nothing there, but dust motes swirled unnaturally. Heart racing, I fled downstairs, questioning my sanity. Am I going crazy? I muttered to myself in the mirror, face pale, eyes shadowed. Alex found me there. Talk to me, babe. I poured it out, the touches, the calls. He held me. It's stress. We'll leave soon. But his voice wavered. Even he felt the unease now, though he wouldn't admit it. Isolation deepened. Friends back home texted, how's the trip? I'd reply cheerfully, hiding the truth. Who'd believe? Dreams merged with waking. I'd hear my name in the shower, water turning icy, steam revealing faint handprints on the glass. Wiping them away, they'd reform. This isn't real. I'd tell myself, but doubt gnawed. Emotional turmoil peaked one evening, sobbing in the porch swing, feeling watched. Mom joined me. I heard it too last night, she admitted softly. Your name. But it can't be. Her confession chilled me more than the events. If she doubted, who could I trust? Reality frayed, leaving me adrift in a house that felt alive, hungry for acknowledgement. Terror erupted that fateful night, no longer subtle. We'd gone to bed early, exhausted from packing. The house was silent at first, moon casting silvery shadows through curtains. But around midnight, it began a low wail from downstairs, building to a scream, piercing human like a child in agony. "Emily!" It howled, distorted and echoing. I bolted upright, skin crawling, cold sweat drenching me. Alex woke too. "What the hell?" he gasped. We grabbed flashlights, hearts thundering. The air felt thick, oppressive, shadows writhing like living things on the walls. Descending the stairs, each creak amplified, the screams grew louder, guttural now interspersed with whispers. "Emily, stay." Physical sensations hit. Icy fingers grazing my ankle, a tug on my shirt. I yelped, swatting at nothing. "Did you feel that?" I cried. Alex's face was ashen. "Wind. I don't know." In the living room, the grandfather clock chimed erratically, midnight over and over. Furniture shifted subtly, chairs scraping inches across the floor. A lamp flickered, casting elongated shadows that detached, slithering toward us. "This isn't happening," I whimpered, backing away. Mom appeared at the hall, robe clutched tight. "I hear it too! Make it stop!" Her voice broke, terror mirroring mine. Screams intensified, coming from everywhere. Walls, ceiling, floor. "Emily, come back!" It shrieked, voice morphing from childlike to something ancient, gravelly. We huddled together, doubting our sanity. "We're hallucinating," Alex muttered, but a shadow lunged, brushing his arm. Cold, solid. He screamed, "Get off!" We fled upstairs, barricading in my room. Pounding on doors echoed outside, whispers seeping through cracks. "Why did you leave me?" Emotional collapse. I rocked on the bed, tears streaming. This house, it's calling me. What if it's Dad, or something worse? Mom confessed, voice trembling. "Your father heard his name before he died. I thought he was sick." Too late. Realization dawned. The house harbored something malevolent, feeding on us. Safety shattered as objects flew, books thudding against walls, glass shattering downstairs. We clung together, questioning everything. Our minds, the world. Dawn broke weakly, screams fading, but the night left us broken, the family finally united in fear, too late. Dawn brought uneasy calm, but the house pulsed with malice. We packed frantically, whispers mocking from vents. "Emily, don't go." Shadows clung to corners watching. In the attic for last boxes, the climax hit. A figure materialized, translucent, child-sized, face blurred but eyes pleading. "Stay," it rasped, hand outstretched. I screamed, stumbling back, it dissolved, but cold gripped my throat, squeezing. Gasping, I fled, visions flashing, childhood memories twisted, the house alive, devouring souls. We escaped to the car, Mom sobbing, Alex pale. Driving away, I glanced back. The house loomed, windows like eyes. Whispers followed faintly through the vents. "Emily." We never returned, selling it remotely. But nights now, in our apartment, I hear it soft, insistent. "Emily." I question if it was real or collective madness. The house calls still, unresolved, a scare on my soul. And sometimes, in the quiet dark, I whisper back, wondering if I'll answer. And so ends our tale, but does it truly end? Homes hold our secrets, our joys, our fears, and sometimes they refuse to let us go. If you've ever felt a pull from the past, a voice in the silence calling your name, remember some echoes never fade. Thank you for joining me tonight. Sweet dreams, or perhaps none at all. Subscribe for more chills, and until next time, listen carefully to the night.